today. On the first slide is the map overview of the complex and a photo of the entrance to the building that the officers responded to this call. Next, we'll have a timeline. This data is taken from the initial 911 call, body-worn camera footage, and the investigative process that pieced together the following sequence of events. January 20th at 12:47 a.m., Sedgwick County Emergency Communications received a 911 call reporting a possible disturbance in Building 4 at the Woodlawn Apartments. At 12:48 a.m., 3 Wichita police officers were dispatched. 2 officers were together as a training unit. 1 was riding as a solo unit. Dispatch tells the officers that the caller reported hearing a verbal disturbance between a male and a female, and the female was possibly crying. The exact apartment was not known at the time. At 12:57 a.m., 3 officers arrive. They begin checking the upper level of Building 4. They knock on the door, on one door, and no one answers. They then hear what sounds like a disturbance on the lower level. At 1:02 a.m. and 22 seconds, officers hear what sounds like at least 2 male voices in apartment 415. One officer knocks and announces Wichita Police. He announces that twice. Seconds later, a male inside the apartment can be heard telling someone to get his gun. Officers again announce they are the police, and the male can be heard again telling someone to get his gun. The male is also heard saying, "Grab my bullets," and told the officers to stand in front of the camera. There is no camera. What we're assuming he's describing is the peephole in the door. During this encounter, the male remained behind a closed door, and officers identified themselves as police a total of 9 times when they were at the door. The male tells the officers that he will cock the gun and aim it at them, and at another time says he will shoot them in the brain. At 1:03 hours and 50 seconds, once that statement is made, all 3 officers move away from that particular door to a better area of cover. At 1:04 and 1 second a.m., so approximately 11 seconds after they moved away from the door in opposite directions, a male came out of the apartment holding a gun. He turned to his left, pointing the gun at an officer that was positioned down the hallway behind some cover. During this time, the officers that were at the top of the staircase that retreated to the top of the staircase, along with the officer that retreated down the hallway, that would be later is the one that fired the rounds, ordered him to drop the gun 4 times. At 1:04 in the morning and 6 seconds, 1 officer fired at the suspect, striking him several times. At 1:05, a second individual in the apartment was secured by officers who also had walked out of the apartment. Medical aid was rendered to the suspect while EMS responded. At 1:12, Sedgwick County EMS arrives and transports the suspect to the hospital. At 1:44 a.m., the suspect is pronounced deceased at the hospital. At this point, we will show you some body camera footage of the officers knocking at the apartment door and announcing who they are and the threatening statements that are made by the suspect.
Where's the police? Hey, this is the police. This is the police.
So you see in that footage the statements that were made after he made the statement that he would shoot them in the brain. 2 of the officers retreated up the staircase, and the 3rd officer retreated back to the south down the hallway. The next video shows the suspect walking out of the apartment and began walking toward the officer positioned in the hallway. As you can see in that particular video, when he's stepping out, that's slowed down a whole lot because he just steps out and goes in. So we only caught a small portion of it, and we slowed it down. What you can actually determine from that video, he has both his right hand and his left hand in front of his torso and holding that weapon at that point. The next slide is from the shooting officer's body camera. You can see the suspect as he comes out of the apartment with the handgun. And so that kind of bright yellow spot we believe is the glint shining off the lights that is where that handgun is located. The suspect has been identified as 27-year-old DeAndre Hill, who resided at the apartment. The other individual in the apartment was briefly brought upstairs to Sheriff Investigations, interviewed, and released. As per our agreement with the Wichita Police Department, alert was activated, and the Sheriff's Office assumed responsibility for investigating the shooting. The investigative process includes conducting multiple interviews and collecting evidence. The Sheriff's Office will present the facts surrounding the officer-involved shooting to the Sedgwick County District Attorney for review. And at that point, any other statements that are made in this case will come from the District Attorney's Office. And with that, I will take any questions.
How many shots did Wichita police fire?
9 shots.
9.
Did the man have a criminal record?
It's for misdemeanor stuff, but we did not find anything that he had a felony criminal record, and he was not prohibited from carrying a firearm.
And was he an individual that you were looking for? Why got the police officers to that actual location?
It was the 911 call by another resident claiming that, or stating that there was a disturbance below her, and she thought a female was crying involved in that disturbance. When officers arrived, because of some of the loud talking that was taking place, they went to this particular apartment thinking that's where the disturbance was.
Was there a female in there?
No. Any other questions? All right. Thank you for your time today.